Mark is the only gospel that reads these next words, "and drew to the shore." The "and they" for passed over and they came into the land. The "and" is the very first "and" at the beginning of the verse. The "they" is not 2 words later. It's actually the next sentence. They came into the land. Right? I still have "when they" from the very beginning of the verse. So I added that here at the beginning. And from "and drew to shore," then "when they," then back to that same verse, "drew to the shore." So now it reads, "and when they drew to the shore," and then I go into verse 54 without a period, just combine them. I'll explain that in the addresses because it fits better. I can't have "after they came into the land of Gennesaret," just continue on into "drew to shore." So continuing on without a period, "and when they were come out of the ship," then I'll combine Matthew and Mark, "the people knew them." So Mark continues, "immediately they knew him." Matthew, "when the men of that place had knowledge of him." So when do they know him? Immediately. And not just they, but the men of that place knew or had knowledge of him. So should I put "knew him" or "had knowledge of him"? I think I'm going to put "had knowledge of" instead of just "knew." But I will start with "immediately" instead of just "and when." Immediately they. Who's they? Matthew explains. The men of that place. And then continuing on with Matthew, "had knowledge of him." Him is both. Matthew continues, "they sent out into all that country round about." Mark says, "and ran through." So they, not the men, but it's just saying they were come out of the ship. They knew him and ran through the whole region round about. I guess Matthew is more descriptive. The men of that place sent out into that country. So the men didn't run out. I mean, some of them may have, but they sent out messengers. So I won't have it how Mark has, "and ran." I'll have, "they sent out into all that country round about." Actually, maybe I could have them both. They sent out into all that country round about. Or they sent out and ran. Into all that country. They sent out into all that country round about. I have this picture in my mind of a group of people, some of them telling others in that group, go tell these people to bring their cousin, brother, father, daughter who is sick here because Jesus has arrived. So I think that's how it went, and it must be how it's explained between Matthew and Mark. Matthew's saying the men sent someone, versus they knew him and ran. So there's a group, some in the group ran, some stayed, sending the ones who ran. I don't know how to put that together, because I can't say they sent others or they sent some. They sent those who ran, because none of those words are here. I could just say they sent and ran. Maybe I could say they sent out into all that country and ran round about. They sent out into all that country and ran. It still sounds like the people who are doing the sending are doing the running. They sent out into all that country round about and ran through the whole country round about. And again, it's just they. They sent. They knew him and ran. So they is explaining those who sent and those who ran. There's no other words here. I don't know what to do. They sent out into all that country round about. They sent out and ran? Or they sent out into all that country and ran? Maybe I can just have they sent out and not ran. They sent out. Matthew says, into all that country round about. Mark uses through that whole region round about. Through that whole region or into? First things first. Who does what? They sent out into all. I think I can just have both. They sent out and ran. Yeah, they sent out and ran. I'm just going to do that. So Matthew first. They sent out. I think I should do into all that country first, and then have and ran through that whole region, and then roundabout from both, because I don't know how to combine through that whole region and into all that country. I would just have to pick and choose. I would have to leave out some words, or if I do it this way, I could have them all. So I'm gonna do it like that. I'll include all the words. But this is already a long. Oh my gosh, this is one sentence. Oh man, that's too long. That can't be. When they drew to shore and were come out of the ship, immediately the men of that place had knowledge of him. Oh, it needs to be, and they sent out into all the country. And when. That's right. I don't use that and for Matthew. And they sent out to all the country and ran through that whole region round about. So I could use the and from the beginning of this verse here and turn this to him, even though it's not a period in Matthew or Mark. It's a comma in both Matthew and Mark because this verse is so long, because I'm putting the whole verse from Mark first and then the whole verse pretty much from Matthew next. It makes sense to just split those verses to make them separate. I'll explain that both of those places I am changing it a bit. I sure hope people aren't offended at this. I really wanted to keep all the words, but it's getting increasingly difficult. As I go through this work, I began wanting to have every single word there, to not cut out anything, to have nothing missing. But which is more important, the words or the meaning? And these aren't even the original words. The original is in Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew. Matthew was originally written in Hebrew. There's a lot of arguments for that. Read the Greek Jesus versus the Hebrew Yeshua by Nehemiah Gordon. This is a translation. These aren't even the actual words. This is an attempt to put the words in a way we can understand. So the meaning is what matters, not the words. And I feel constrained to keep the meaning, even if that means that having two long verses that explain the same thing put together, making it twice as long, to cut it in half so that it retains flow and propriety, if you will. Like here, and when they drew to the shore and were come out of the ship, immediately the men of that place had knowledge of him. And to stop there instead of just keep going and have this and moved in there for the intent so that it makes sense. And they sent. So they knew him and they sent. I know that and wasn't originally there, and I've done this many times before. Draw a word from the beginning, put it in the middle in order to keep the meaning. And I challenge anyone out there to see if I have changed the meaning. And if I have, please inform me. I will do my absolute best to fix it, because the meaning is what matters. The lesson is what matters. The fact that we understand what is being said so that we can then do it, not that all the words are in the exact right order. Oftentimes that is required in order to understand. But if in putting these verses together I have screwed up the meaning, please inform me, and I'll do my best to try and fix it. I like how it says in Matthew 14:22, immediately Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship. I feel constrained to keep the meaning, even if that means some of the words need to be moved, or when putting 2 or 3 gospel accounts together, one word or another needs to be left out so that it will all fit together.